As far as the chamber goes, this is our first annual members dinner. This chamber is just a year old, and we're already growing and got things going on in the community. Most all of you know are from the Howard City area. Everybody around here has a good attachment to the community, and that's what we want the chamber to help, is further the community, further the businesses. And so you'll notice our tagline there, where community connects.
Welcome to the Discover Montcalm podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Duane Reed.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Discover Montcalm podcast. My name's Duane, I'm the host and producer, and I have Bruce Williams here with me today, the president of the Howard City Area Chamber of Commerce. If you recall, back in October, I think on episode 40, we went into a lot of detail with you and kind of the dive into who you are and all of this. But what I'd like to do now on this edition is to kind of take a look almost a year later. Not quite if you do the math, but what is the chamber doing now that back in October last year in 2023, where has the chamber come in this little bit of time from where it started to where we are today in the 1st of March in 2024?
Well, the last year has basically been building the foundation and doing all of the behind the scenes stuff to make a good starting point for the chamber, all the legal aspects, all setting up accounts and balance, all of that kind of good stuff. And so it kind of doesn't really show on the outward side so much as it is just laying that infrastructure, doing the important legal stuff.
It takes a while to build a business.
It does. It does.
I mean, you're in business. You know, you go back when you started. You know, all the trials and all the things that happened at that time, and the chamber is no different.
Yeah, some people forget a chamber of commerce is a business.
Exactly.
Even though it's a nonprofit and you do lots of things, you're focused on the community, you're focused on the people and stuff. But you have to remember, at the end of the day, bottom line, it is a business. And so a lot of the things that you want to do, it takes time to build to that point.
And when you're small.
Right.
When you're
absolutely.
small, it seems like sometimes you're pushing that rock a little more, but as it grows, you know, I know that, you know, here a couple weeks ago you had the first annual membership.
Members dinner, yes.
Members dinner. Somebody's listening to this and they're in, you know, the Panhandle area, surrounding area, you know, Sand Lake, Morley, you know, because it's Howard City Area Chamber of Commerce.
It is.
You know, it's all about doing business locally and helping to support local communities. Somebody was to ask you the question, why should I join the chamber? Why?
Chamber of Commerce, and I go back to the same thing. To make the community function well, there needs to be different aspects. Besides business that you've got going on, you've also got the municipality, but you also have a certain part that is always community minded. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the Chamber of Commerce comes in. We kind of become the connecting component.
And you're doing
to
that.
help out, right, exactly.
Because you're sitting on some of your board members are also sitting on other.
Correct.
You know, because if you're going to be part of the community, you got to not just say, "Oh, look at me and come and help me." You've said, "Hey, no, we want to be proactive." So you guys are sitting on some other boards, which I think is very cool.
We have opportunities as a Chamber of Commerce to do things for not only the business but for the community. Just like Community Expo that we're working on getting up and running. You do your ribbon cuttings. Also, you can work with the Small Business Administration and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to try to bring different tools to the local businesses, the small businesses. One of the aspects, and you're a small business owner yourself, you get an idea, you jump out there, you start something, and you don't always have all that information that you can get a hold of. So you try to struggle and find it. Sometimes it's trial and error, sometimes it's by fire. You get into it and then learn that, wow, there's a lot I didn't know.
Just like starting a brand new business.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to kind of have to shake things around a little bit. And it was interesting, before we went on the air here, you were telling me of a phone call that you had just received, and somebody's perception of maybe Howard City being maybe larger than what it is. But could you share that little story?
I fielded a phone call. A gentleman asked about the hotels here in Howard City, and I only knew of one. The two were in, and I said I only know of one, and he seemed offended that I didn't know about all of the hotels around our community, and that I was the Chamber of Commerce, and I didn't know that. And so it was fun from that aspect of what the perception of somebody apparently not really familiar with Howard City, what they expected the knowledge base of a Chamber of Commerce would be.
Well, and I know that back in the day when the Panhandle Chamber was around, and those first years that I was part of that, we used to get calls all the time for Burley Park.
Right.
I mean, I felt like I was a resource.
Their spokesperson?
Yeah, I really did. I should have just said, Panhandle Chamber, Burley Park, can I help you? But but you are taking a dive into the community, knowing that things, and I think that's kind of it's a cool thing, even though that perception of that person might have been thinking maybe there's a Howard City in another state that's bigger. Right. But the idea that they turn to the chamber
as a resource,
to get information. So that's kudos.
A previous call, and I'm not sure if I shared that with you, a gentleman from Texas called, and he's got grandchildren that are moving into the Howard City area. He wanted to know what kind of things we have in here, what kind of churches, what kind of activities could his grandchildren look for, for recreation and stuff. He wanted to know about the community to find out if it was a place that would be good for his grandchildren to live.
I just fielded a call from, or not call, but I was talking to somebody the other day that their daughter moved back. And trying to find housing.
Right.
Now, housing is one of those things that there's housing, but I don't know where their income was, but they were finding it very hard to find housing because, Howard City, one of the things that's nice about this area is that we are a bedroom community. In a lot of ways. There are a lot of subdivisions around here that people love to live here, but they'll travel to the bigger cities to do work, but come back here. Right. So it's interesting the way that people come and ask questions. Kind of a fun time here. Over the past year, since you've started, is there a funny story that you could share that you kind of went, oh my goodness, about the chamber and the building of it, or something that happened at an event? Is there something that you could share with us just on a lighter note?
Well, I'm not really sure if just because so many things happen that at the same time you do them, and sometimes you sit and you laugh at yourself. Because some of the stuff that we come up with and think about it, ribbon cuttings, for example, like, hey, we should be doing ribbon cuttings. And the village, they've already said, they're not in the business of doing ribbon cuttings. That's what Chamber does. And so get a call one day, well, we were invited to a ribbon cutting. And I said, oh, are we hosting this ribbon cutting? We're jumping through the hoops. Do we have scissors? Do we have? And they said, no, you're just invited to it. The architect firm is doing the ribbon cutting, and so you
went into full blown. I'm going to help,
exactly.
And they just wanted you.
Just wanted us to attend,
which is another testament for having a chamber here.
And so you have to think about what are your duties to the community. And sometimes just being in attendance, being there, being supportive for what they're doing is what they need from us.
And that's cool. I mean, because I know that, what we have available right now, these phones and being able to, having a good social media presence, which you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you're at howardcityareachamber.com. Boy, I could have asked you that question, but instead I'm going to jump right in and tell you because I kind of helped set it up. But it's nice that you got people now that are there that are feeding the social, because that's the big thing, is trying to keep it current. Having somebody that will step up and volunteer and help.
That you led into that. That's one of the things about a small community chamber of commerce that's important for everybody to realize. Everybody that's working in a small community chamber of commerce are volunteers. There's no paid individuals. And so these people are giving up free time, either from their business or from their personal life. They're doing things for the community just as a volunteer.
Right.
And when you're looking at all of the stuff that needs to be accomplished, social media is a big one. You've got so much stuff that happens that has to be put on Facebook, has to be put on Instagram, has to be put into website. That's almost a full-time job for somebody.
For a business, nowadays it is.
And so you have an individual who's volunteering their time to do that. Then we've got other board members that are sitting in on the Park and Recreation Committee, sitting in on DDA, going and listening to the village council meetings. So they're participating to try to collect as much information as they can, but you always have to remember, they're volunteering their free time.
That's right. There's not a paycheck at the end of this for anybody on the board. And it goes back to why the way you're setting up this chamber is to be involved.
Right.
You want to make connections. You want to be there. So instead of just saying, okay, come and help me, you're
right.
And we just talked about that, but the importance of it's a two-way street.
Yep.
And I think in a small town, probably even more so, in order to get things going. And with where you're gathering your members, it's not just Howard City.
No.
It's the surrounding area. So making sure that what we're doing, and that leads me to, and you touched on it really briefly, we're bringing back a business expo, a community expo. Yep. Before we get into the Community Expo, I'd like to take a little pause here and thank our sponsors, West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions, Busy Bee, and DW Video and Multimedia, for what, without them, shirts, these cups, our website, things wouldn't happen without them. So we're going to take a small pause and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this Community Expo coming up in April.
We hope you're enjoying our podcast, and we'll be back after we thank our sponsors. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions, your IT and web hosting experts, westmichiganhelpdesk.com, and DW Video, your source for video production, websites, and your local videotape, slides, and 8mm film transfer specialist, dwvideo.com. Now, back to our interview.
Welcome back to the Discover Montcalm podcast. I have Bruce Williams, the president of the Howard City Area Chamber of Commerce, with me. And you can find the Discover Montcalm podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as going to discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Get the RSS feed and you can put it into your favorite podcast browser app, and you can follow all of our episodes. If you want to know more about Bruce, in episode 40, we went into more detail on that whole aspect. But now you have a Community Business Expo coming up in April. What's the date?
April 20th from 10 to 3. And
it'll be at the Tri-County High School.
The new high school, right, exactly.
Okay.
And so anybody that's that are interested in participating in it, please contact Ace Home Healthcare's office, 231-937-4514, or they can contact the cell phone number, which is with the chamber, which is my number, which is 616-821-2415.
Okay. Now, does somebody have to be a member to be part of this?
No. That's part of our logic here is instead of it just being a business expo, we want it to be a community expo. We want to bring in the community. We want to give the community some place where they can come to it. So it's not just members, it's open.
Okay, so I assume that members will be maybe a discounted price?
Right,
And,
exactly.
then and that's pretty much fair no matter where you go.
Yeah, obviously we hope everybody will join the chamber, but
if
we don't want it to be we don't want to make it to where somebody can't participate if they want to.
Okay, well that's cool because I see here in my notes that the theme is where community and business meet.
Right.
Which is great. So April 20th, 10 to 3. That's a Saturday, I believe.
You got me on there, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Saturday, April 20th, 10 to 3, Tri-County High School. But go get in touch with Ace Home Healthcare, your number that will be up on the screen the whole time. If you want to participate in this, definitely get with them now.
Go on the Facebook page. You can find us at the Heart City Area Chamber Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find a flyer on there about it. There's forms that you can fill out.
Sure.
So
partake.
Reach of us, yes.
That's a big part of, just making people aware. Because I don't know about you, drive all over the place, and we take these paths that we're on, and all of a sudden we'll go by a building and go, when did that building go up?
Right.
Come to find out, maybe 20 years ago, and I've been driving by it and I never saw it. I don't know if you have that.
I do.
So this is an opportunity in our area for people to, kind of come out and maybe see the people.
Right.
I don't know who all's going to be there yet, but I'm sure that if you have a cottage business or you do festivals and that kind of stuff, or if you're a brick and mortar, you offer a service,
Right.
get with you, get a booth, come out and meet other people, make connections that could help grow the business, which helps in turn grows the community.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to use the tagline for the chamber, where community connects.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes right back to those phone calls that I've had where somebody's asking about the community. They're not specifically just asking about the business, they're asking about the community and what's in this community. And the more we network with each other, the more we learn about each other's businesses, the more we learn about the community.
So if you've got a business out there in the area, by all means, join, because just because you might have been here for 30 years doesn't mean everybody knows you're here.
Well, that's true.
And that is something that we want to make sure that, and that's why the chamber's here. Now, we were talking in the break there where you're also trying to make other connections.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit about where Bruce's heart is and where
Well,
you want to go?
it's kind of like, in a sense, the chamber, now that the foundation's all done, you go back, I relate to it kind of like it's a child. We went through...
We're through potty training.
Yeah, we went through, we're still in potty training.
Okay.
But we went through and now we're in the toddler stage. Now we're learning how to walk and how to do things. And so now we want to start networking with the other chamber of commerces around the area, Greenville Chamber, Cedars Chamber, and Rockford Chamber, all of those.
Sand Lake,
Sand Lake Chamber, all of the chambers that we can, and see how can we help each other, how can we learn from the Chamber of Commerce's that's already been well established, and at the same time, kind of learn what the pitfalls or dangers that they're trying to avoid
But
are.
the other important part, and this might be an idea for, I know other chambers have done this, is that you have maybe an evening where you bring multiple chambers together,
Right.
chamber members together, because we don't have, moats around our.
That's one of our hopes, is to have set up a thing where different members of the chamber can meet and exchange ideas.
Sure.
Because it's that same thing. Not only do you have the business after hours, which we'll start setting those up, where businesses can come and network with each other and garner referrals, learn. We want to do the same thing with the Chamber of Commerce's. We want to network with the different chambers, do that same kind of networking so that we can learn from each other.
And networking groups. There's some networking groups that are popping up around that are also getting together to promote community and promote businesses, right, and exchange, and I think it's great. As I go to wrap this up, is there anything that I haven't discussed that we'd like to make sure that we get it in? Because I'm sure with us, we could talk for a week.
Yeah, we're always open to suggestions, and we would encourage not only the businesses in the community, but the different organizations, individuals. Send us suggestions. Mm-hmm. Either send them in through Facebook, through the website. We have the website.
Yep. Or
if you need, just drop by and drop it off. I'm sure if you drop it off the village offices, they'll get it to us too.
Right. Well, but and it's
give us some suggestions of what you feel is necessary for the community. Right.
So Bruce, thank you. I think that maybe in another year we'll come back and we'll circle. Maybe we'll be out of the toddler stage. And maybe now we're starting school, So thank you for coming today. Thank you for tuning in to the Discover Montcalm podcast. My name's Duane. If you'd like to be on the podcast, if you're part of Montcalm County, anywhere in Montcalm County, business, organization, you grew up here, I'd love to start a series on If This Barn Could Talk. So if you're a farm or you live on an old farm, there's history there. Not only do I want to learn your family history, I want to learn the history behind that barn. Maybe it's starting to be run down today, but back in the day it was somebody's livelihood. So connect with me at 231-250-9624. My name's Duane. Again, thank you for tuning in, and remember to buy and shop locally.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Duane at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.